Hello, and thank you for joining us on this webinar for SmartCAT. My name is Jonathan Peterson with William Frick & Company. Today we're going to be presenting for about 30 minutes. And if you have any questions, there's a box on your right-hand side. And if there isn't a box, you can hit the arrow to open it up. You can type in your questions and we will answer them at the end of the webinar. And if we do not answer or you think of questions afterwards, my email address and phone number will be at the screen at the end. So we're here today to introduce SmartCAT. It's a completely customizable survey tool to reflect your workflow. So what is an asset? What do you want to know? You go into the field, you pick an asset, you scan an asset, you have custom drop-down menus, you answer your questions, you plug it into your PC, and you have all the data at your fingertips. On the left side could be your current situation with the fire hydrant inspection form. You see the illegible handwriting and then me down below with all these files that I would have to then try to read first of all and then manually input the data into a computer. To the right is a SmartCAT upload screenshot. So the SmartCAT is plugged into your computer and it uploads into an XML format or Excel. So then you can sort the data however you want to, and you have that at your fingertips and at your disposal. So we're here to save you money and time. You can track multiple assets in multiple situations, and there's really no limit to how many assets you can track for multiple situations. Asset management is the tracking, monitoring, and maintenance of assets within a company. So a little bit on who we are. My name is Jonathan Peterson. I'm the sales rep here at William Frick & Company, and with me will be Suraj Prakash, the software and device engineer. So over the next 20 to 30 minutes, we're going to give you a quick demonstration on how it works and tell you a little bit about William Frick & Company, and then answer questions if you have any. So William Frick & Company is a privately owned company that started in 1975. We pride ourselves on coming up with harsh environment solutions with labels. It first started out as signs and markers. So whatever asset that you have or whatever message that you want to get across for identification, that's what we try to do. So if you have anything that you need, just give us a call. So just to give you a little bit of background on how SmartCAT was born or started, in the 1970s, you see on the left-hand side the number 1359256. That is a human-readable number icon. So the guy with the beard would then have to write down that number and answer questions about the asset. Is it still there? Has it been moved? What condition it's in? All the questions that people back in the office would want to know about that certain asset. Within the 1980s, barcodes came about. So you see property of William Frick & Company, that's a linear barcode, and then the person would have to then scan it with the barcode scanner. They would have to go closer to it or further away from it until they hear that beep. And then in the 2000s, they started with RFID. So RFID doesn't have to have the line of sight that the barcodes do. You can count something within an instant with either a handheld, which is the middle picture, the SmartCAT handheld, or you can have RFID antennas and count it instantly. So it stands for radio frequency identification. So now we're going to walk you through how you can get started today in minutes, not hours or days, on how to track your assets. So what are you going to track? Do you have a fire hydrant, a light pole, a manhole cover, or my personal favorite, VHS tapes that you want to track? So now I'm going to turn it over to Suraj Prakash, our software development engineer, on a little walkthrough on how to get started with your SmartCAT system. I'm going to be switching on the webcam right now. That's Suraj. You'll see him in just a second.
Hello, everyone. I'm Suraj Prakash. I'm the software and device engineer for SmartCAT. Jonathan, you want to say hi?
I'm Jonathan Peterson. Nice to meet you.
Well, like Jonathan said, over the next few minutes, I'm going to take you through how SmartCAT works, the app works, how the reader works, how it can be configured, how the data export looks. So to start with, let's start with the reader itself. This is the reader. It's actually an alien reader, our partner. It has a UHF RFID reader in it. It's got an inbuilt camera along with a barcode scanner. It can scan linear and 2D barcodes. It's a touchscreen, so keeping up with the progress in technology. Also, it has a hard keypad, just in case that's easier to use for you. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how the app works itself. What you need is the reader, and here's a reader screen. I'm going to show you the reader screen on my desktop, just so that it's easier for us to view. The reader and the kit comes along with a cradle. You need a cradle for the reader to sit on and be connected to your computer. You also need a USB cord, and let's just remind you, all this comes in the SmartCAT kit that you purchase. So I'm going to just connect it to my computer, and I'll switch to my desktop.
I'm going to open up a personal software that I use to basically remote access the reader on my screen. So what you're seeing right now is the reader screen itself. And like I said, it's a Windows-based mobile device. You would want to go into the desktop, and that right there is the SmartCAT app. Once you click on the SmartCAT app icon, the first screen that you see is a simple login screen. It's just like your email account, your Facebook, or your Twitter. The admin can set up as many usernames or users, basically, as he wants to. There is no licensing fee per user. So what I'm going to do is log in, and I'm going to log in as Jonathan, like John, and the password J123. You really need to come up with a better password.
It's really high security.
So once I enter these two, I'm going to log in. The first screen after logging in that you see is what we like to call a safety message screen. It's really a notice that you want the user or the operator to sign off or accept on before he or she goes out and collects survey data. Essentially, that's what it is. So I'm going to accept it. And then we come to what I like to call the terminal screen. This is where you select what asset type you want to go ahead and inspect. There's a drop-down menu right here, and this lists all the asset types that you as the admin want the operator to go out and collect data on. So for now, we're going to select fire hydrant. Imagine that Jonathan has logged in, selected or accepted the safety message, and the safety message could be something like, please be wearing your steel-toe boots while inspecting the fire hydrant. And he is now going to inspect and flush fire hydrants. I'm going to start the survey. This survey that you're seeing is based off of an actual manually handwritten inspection form that Libertyville Township uses. So what Jonathan's going to do is go through answering each of these questions while he's inspecting the fire hydrant. So the first question is scan RFID tag. He needs to do this in order to get the asset number. And right now he's holding the reader. He's going to point it in the direction of the RFID tag on the fire hydrant.
You'll hear a beep.
Yep. And he pulls the trigger. And that's the asset number recorded on that tag. So imagine that to be the asset number of the fire hydrant. On the right, under the hashtag, or what some older people like to call it, the pound sign, is a number that you see. That number basically denotes how many times the reader reads that particular tag. It's got nothing to do with how many times the data is being stored. Really quickly, I want to show you the multi-read feature too. This is what people have been using for inventory, and this is really where RFID shows off, essentially. Jonathan is holding the reader.
Here we go.
In the direction of multiple tags. So within a few seconds, you basically captured data from 12 different tags like you see here. And you can go ahead and select how many ever tags you want, and that will be stored right here.
This is a good example for barricades or things like that. Fire hydrants wouldn't be this close together.
Right. Yeah, I should select this one right now. But essentially, I just wanted to give you the idea of inventory tracking. So
you saw RFID. The next data input format is is barcode. You can go in and scan linear or 2D barcode using the same system, or you can go in, fill in a drop-down menu option. So that's the third data input format. You see the asterisk actually first here before the manufacturer name. That is basically a required field. It's just like your online credit card billing. The asterisk denotes a field that needs to be filled up before you save the survey. So under manufacturer name, there are three options: Mueller, Clow, Other. These are manufacturers of fire hydrants. Other isn't. So I'm just going to select one. Jonathan can go over the next few questions and select the ones that he deems important and answer those. These are not required as you don't see the asterisk by them. Then you would reach the end where the water condition is required, VEEP is required, flush minutes is required. Okay, now we're down to the manual input data option. You saw RFID, barcode, drop down, and then there's the manual input. Oops. So under gallons, you see this white text box. The operator really can enter whatever he wants or he deems is right for this question. And as the admin, these are questions basically you want to leave open-ended. So Jonathan fills in 6.
Or it could be a comments box. You know, whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm. The next data collection method is the camera. You can select the camera and take a picture of your asset. In this use case, it was being used in a scenario where the RFID tag was missing or the fire hydrant was damaged. So the operator would take a picture and connect it to the survey itself or the asset. And the last data input format is GPS, which can basically be used to calculate or to collect GPS coordinates, latitude and longitude.
Only when you're outside.
Okay.
Within 8 to 16 feet?
Mm-hmm. So I saved the survey data captured. I'm back to the terminal screen. I can select another asset and start another survey or view previously collected surveys. That's basically SmartCAT. Now I'm going to go back onto my computer screen. You've collected your data. Jonathan has collected his data, and at the end of the day, he comes home and he gives the reader back to the administrator. The administrator would then access the data files. The data, like Jonathan mentioned earlier, is stored in XML format, but I'm going to open it using Excel. XML is basically a universal format. You can open it on any basic software when you use Excel. So when you open the data in Excel, this is how it kind of neatly forms a table. Each row is one survey data, and each column is basically a separate data entry. So start date, start time, end date, end time, they're always recorded along with user, asset type, and what you see after asset type and device ID, these questions right here, these are all customizable. So whatever you want to capture, you can set up as a data entry. And I'll show you how you do that really quickly. Please, once again, if you have any other questions or any questions at all, please write them down. You know, I might be going fast or slow, whatever it is, or I'm missing something. So you've seen the app, you've seen the data collection option. Now I'm going to show you how you configure the SmartCAT app. And it's really simple. The files that run SmartCAT are basic CSV files. These are comma delimited files, but you can open them and edit them on Notepad or in Excel or any other spreadsheet software. I'm going to use Excel once again. Asset types.csv is the file that populates data onto the screen that I call the terminal screen. It's basically filling in the asset list. So on the left, column A are the names, how they're going to appear in the drop-down menu, if you remember the drop-down menu. And on the right are the corresponding names of the files that hold questions for those asset types. So fire hydrant is how on the left it would actually appear on the terminal screen in the drop-down menu. and firehydrant.csv is the file it would look for the survey questions. So do you think we should enter?
We should have my VHS tapes as an asset.
VHS, really? Okay.
Got a lot of them. Got to keep track of them too.
Okay. VHS and VHS.csv.
That's it. That's all you have to do.
So VHS is how it's going to show up in the drop-down menu, and then VHS.csv is where it's going to look for the questions. I'm going to save it. It's going to ask me if I want to replace the previous one. Yes. Yes. Okay. You know, if you remember, I mentioned that the survey that we were filling in was based off of a Libertyville inspection form. I'm just going to show you how that inspection form looks. This is how it looked. If you remember the Mueller, Clow, other, these were options under the manufacturer name questions. And imagine Jonathan outside in the rain, snow, whatever it is.
Terrible conditions.
Yep.
Gloves on.
Inspecting fire hydrants and filling these in, one by one manually. He would skip some. He wouldn't obviously find out the ones that are required or not. He was just...
I have bad handwriting too, so that'd be bad. Plus, notice at the top it says the date and the operator, so that's automatically captured in the app.
Right. And this is all, if Jonathan was actually filling this up in the field, it would be in his discretion. Back to the config file. So we took all that data from that inspection form and created a digital survey CSV file, actually. As complicated as it sounds, it was really easy to do so. I'm going to show you that.
These are also on our website, so if you're configuring your own files, you can use these as an example.
So a few things that you should know about this file type is that each row is equal to one question on your survey for any asset type. Each column is a function that you can connect to that one question. So column A is basically, defining whether or not you want it to be answered or required to be answered or not. If you enter true, the asterisk appears next to the question, and it has to be answered. Column B is the data collection option that you want to connect to that question. Do you want it to be RFID? Do you want it to be barcode, camera, or if you leave it blank, it's just going to be a data collection option. So text data collection option. It could be drop down or manual input. Column C is the question itself. What is the prompt? What do you want to ask? Scan RFID tag, manufacturer name, whatever it is. And then column D onwards are the different data collection options that will appear in the drop-down menu. So, just to explain you a little further, the blank on the left in column B is basically, like I mentioned, is a text input option, and then the blank on the right of the question basically represents that it's going to be a manual text box input. If you remember the question gallons that Jonathan entered 6 into, it was a big white box. And if you don't enter any drop-down menu options after the question, that's how it will appear. You think we should make changes to the question?
Let's just make one change.
Okay. All right. Let's select manufacturer name. You remember this question? Mueller, Clow, other. I'm just going to go in and make it not required. The asterisk will disappear. I'm going to leave the data collection options and also the label as it is. And I'm going to move other and add 2 more drop-down menu options.
For just this webinar, let's be fire hydrant manufacturers. We are not fire hydrant manufacturers, but just to show you,
sure,
it's pretty easy to configure your files.
Okay, so we've added William Frick. Anyone else?
Yeah, SmartCAT.
Sure. One
SmartCAT webinar.
We're not fire hydrant manufacturers. Anyways, we made changes to this question, manufacturer name. Remember that, and I'll show you how to look now. Let me just save this file, replace it, yes, yes. So we've made changes. I'm going to copy this config file folder. All these changes, all these files are stored in a config folder, and we just copy the config folder, the updated config folder, and we go into the external drive, which is our reader right here, portable devices. You go in there, go into the SmartCAT folder. Oh, let me delete the previous ones. And just paste the new one.
That's it.
That's it. And you've updated your SmartCAT app. That's how you configure it. Let me just go back onto the reader screen. Once again, you're now watching the screen on the reader. I'm going to go in and select SmartCAT app. Select the username, Jonathan. Or we should change your password, John.
I'll forget that if you change it.
Okay, we enter his password, log in, accept the safety message. And now if you remember, we added an asset type. It should show up in this drop-down menu.
There it is.
There it is, VHS.
My VHS tapes.
Yep. You can go ahead and track your VHS tapes now. But I want to show you guys the fire hydrant asset type and the one change that we made to the question. So we select fire hydrant, start survey. Now we're into the survey questions. And that's the question we made changes to, manufacturer name. It's no more required. There's no asterisk there. And the drop-down menu now shows William Frick and SmartCAT.
There we are.
Yep. All of a sudden, we're manufacturing fire hydrants. But essentially, we come to a complete, cycle. That's how easy it is to configure the app. That's how easy it is to put down the data and collect the data and export it. And essentially, that's all.
So we've had a few applications that we've done case studies for. We've done it in a hospital setting, a public works, as well as a manufacturing site. And these are all on our website. And we look forward to your application in which you think that you could track your assets. And we could put it on the website or work with you on it. Just let us know. So we started off manufacturing RFID tags about 10 years ago, and so we've been doing it a long time. We've picked a few tags that can work with the SmartCAT solution in our RFID starter kit. However, we do have testing facilities in Libertyville, Illinois that can come up with a solution that best fits your application. So it's rugged environments, it's tamper evident, whatever characteristics that you want for your RFID tag to work with SmartCAT, we can come up with an answer for you. So how much does it cost? It is one payment of $5,750, or you could also lease it for 3 years. So what does that all come with? Well, it comes with no licensing fees for you to mark your assets. It also comes with the reader in which Suraj showed you. It's an RFID scanner, barcode scanner, and has a camera. The road-tested carrying case, a leather case, a strap, car and wall charger, a cradle, USB cord to plug it into your computer, an extra battery just in case, and a 3-year warranty. So now we have a Q&A time. You can ask myself and Suraj any questions that you may have in order to better understand SmartCAT. So at this time, if you would please type in questions that you have. We'll wait a couple minutes, but in the meantime, we'll answer a few questions that are frequently asked. So one of the questions is, what frequency of RFID tags does SmartCAT work with?
So, like I mentioned, the reader has a UHF reading capacity. It's basically ultra-high frequency, and in US, it'll be 915 hertz.
Another question is, what asset management software does SmartCAT work with?
Really anything. Basically, like I said, the data that's collected is stored in an XML file. It's a universal format file. You could use it to upload data into whatever asset management software you have. We've played around with QuickBooks. We've played around a little bit with Cartographs and other softwares. But yeah, whatever can take XML format.
There's a question, what was the countdown
in the upper right-hand corner. If you remember, there was a countdown on the upper right of the reader when Suraj was on the reader screen. If you don't type anything, it's kind of like the snooze button. If you don't use it, then it automatically logs you off so that somebody can't put in data in which you don't want them to. Right. So another question, any limit to the number of questions that can go on a survey? It's as many rows that's in an Excel spreadsheet. So as many questions as you want answered, that's what you can put in. So if there aren't any more questions, we'll go to the next slide, which has my contact information. So for immediate help, you can reach me at 847-918-6920 or at my email address at jonathan.peterson@fricknet.com. I'll also call you in the next couple weeks to see how you like the webinar, if you have any specific questions in which I can hopefully answer. If not me, then Suraj can. And as a special thank you for attending the webinar, we're going to give you, with the purchase of a SmartCAT system, a free tag starter kit. And just use the promo code NEWTAG. I'd like to thank you again for attending today's webinar, and I hope you have a great Thursday.